Hey, I'd like to welcome you to another episode of Mission Matters. My name is Adam Torres, and if you'd like to apply to be a guest on the show, just head on over to missionmatters.com and click on Be Our Guest to apply. All right, so today I have Barry Jessurun on the line, and he is author of The Drunkard's Path and president of Green Valley Hospitality. Barry, welcome to the show.
Great to be here.
All right, Barry. So I'm excited to get into your book today. So The Drunkard's Path, I mean, a lot of business owners, entrepreneurs, and executives watch this, and they're looking for tools, they're looking for tips, they're looking for ways to really increase their knowledge base, but also to improve their businesses. So The Drunkard's Path, it's a book that's just so much more than about hospitality and hospitality industry. It really is a type of manual or a type of real resource that'll allow people to improve their lives. So excited to get into that and into your story. But before we do that, we'll start this episode the way that we start them all, with our Mission Matters Minute. So Barry, we at Mission Matters, we amplify stories for entrepreneurs, executives, and experts. That's our mission. Barry, what mission matters to you?
Well, that's a great question, because it's something that's actually changed over time. When we first started 32 years ago with our restaurants, I thought I was in the restaurant business and was passionate about that and food. And while that hasn't changed much, what we realized is that we're actually in the young person development agency. That's what we do. We basically hire lots and lots of young people in this industry, and our job is to create a space in which they can grow and become a more valuable self in the future. And that's kind of why I wrote the book, is to take that to another audience as well. But it's that mission, taking care of the people who come to work for us, to create a space in which they can grow and be a more valuable self in the future. That matters.
Oh man, it's a great mission, and developing young people and developing individuals. I mean, it's a great task, and I want to go further into that. But you mentioned you've been in the restaurant business for over 30 years now. I mean, tell me a little bit more.
Well, it's over 40 technically.
40 years.
We're in our 33rd year in the restaurant. That started it all with us as owners.
Wow. So how did this start? Like, how'd you get into the business? Like where'd this start?
Well, I was living in Boston, and it's just, getting in the restaurant business is just an easier way to make a little bit of extra money while you're at school. And that's kind of how it happened. I started working at a health club that happened to have a restaurant. Of course, I worked at the health club so I could, have a membership without paying for it, because when you're a student, you really can't do that. So I had a place to work out and play racquetball and that, but I also managed to start working there. And that sort of got me in the hospitality industry, and they had a restaurant and a bar, and I started working a little bit in that, and that kind of got me started. And I kind of stayed in that throughout. As I did other jobs, I always used the restaurant industry to augment my income and meet people and have fun.
Oh, it's amazing. And so how did you, as you're kind of working up your ranks in the restaurant business, like how did you decide, or how did you know that like this was going to be a career for you, or like it was your passion?
Well, it's one of those things you don't really know it,
Yeah.
Like through my 20s, it's just something I did to make money, meet people, and have fun. There was always these ideas about doing something else, and people always told me that I worked with, man, you're so good at this, you should own your own place. That was one of those constant stories that came at me. And of course, when you're in your 20s, you don't have a lot of money, and, trying to do that is like,
you should be an astronaut. Like what?
Right. But I did, what happened is my parents bought a piece of property, an old barn, and they wanted to turn it into a cafe. And they asked me to come and help. And my plan was to help them, but not necessarily to stay there, because it's in a very rural area of Connecticut. And when you're in your 20s, living in a rural area of Connecticut is not really what I wanted to do.
Yeah.
So I jumped in and I helped them. And I stayed for a year, like I promised, and went to California and did some stuff out there. But my sister, who was running it, decided she didn't really want to do it anymore. And I came back to help to grow the business with the idea of selling it. And then it just turned into something that I really like doing this. And we continued to grow it. And then we realized that we, in order to really make it financially successful in a rural area, we had to have more than one. And that's kind of how we got into the hospitality business overall, and now have 4 restaurants.
Wow, it's amazing. And so I didn't know that about you. So your parents roped you into the business. There you go, right?
Yeah, my mom called me one day and said, "Hey, we're going to turn the barn into a restaurant. Can you come home?" And I said, "Well, that's not going to happen right away, and I'll come home after the ski season."
Yeah.
So when the ski season ended, because I was working at a ski area,
Yeah.
I came home and we basically turned the barn into a restaurant that summer. Was like how I spent my summer vacation.
Oh man. So and there's some unique things to operating a restaurant and having multiple locations in the rural area. So at first, as you mentioned, like that wasn't necessarily the ideal thing you wanted, but then ultimately it stuck. Like you had an affinity to staying in that rural area and serving that community. I mean, tell me a little bit more about that.
Well, it's a great area in that it's close to a lot of things. So northeastern Connecticut is only 70 miles from Boston. It's only 60 miles from the shore, or 45 minutes to Providence or Hartford, and we're close to 3 major airports. And if you want to count New York, we're only 3 hours from that. So it was a great jumping off point from going to the shore, going skiing, going to the city for stuff, and it turned out to be far away without really being far away. And the other thing, of course, that happened is while I was in the business, I aged. I got older. I wasn't in my 20s anymore. I was in my 30s. And then I met a woman who became my wife. And then concerns and ideas changed. And northeastern Connecticut is a great place to grow a family.
Oh, that's amazing. So I want to go into some of the restaurant concepts, but we'll save that for later because I do want to go further into the food, the concepts, what you're doing, because I think it's really awesome. But before we do that, the Drunkard's Path. Like we got to get to the main event here. So the Drunkard's Path, so this book, first off, the title, like what's behind that?
Well, it wasn't the working title. The working title was called The Cafe Way. It was like how we do things. I was never real happy with it. It didn't say anything. And over some time,
the cafe way to the Drunkard's Path. Yeah, it's a change there.
It was a big change. But I kept on brainstorming, and my editor said, look, just keep working on it. Eventually, you're going to find one that's absolutely going to be the one that works. So just don't worry about it. Just keep brainstorming. So we do these quilt shows. Actually, we have an art show every month at the restaurant, at the cafe, at the Beam. And it changes every month. And every December for the past 28 years, we've had a quilt show in the main part of the dining room.
Yeah.
And one year when they were striking the show, I asked the curator, I said, have you ever done any Escher type quilting? Like abstract kind of quilting. And they said, no, but that sounds like fun. Mm-hmm. The next year, they're hanging an abstract show. And I said, I thought you never did that. And they said, oh, we thought you asked us to. So I unknowingly curated an abstract quilt show, and I ended up buying one. It was a black and white quilt. It has hung above both my children's cribs when they were little. It's been in different rooms in the house. And the main stitch in this quilt is the Drunkard's Path. So it's a stitch in quilting. And the interesting thing about that is it's not an easy stitch to do. So if you're a beginner quilter, you're not going to attempt it. But after you've got some practice and you can do it, it's a curved stitch. It opens up a whole new space of design possibilities for your quilting. And when I read that about the Drunkard's Path, I was like, oh my God, that's what my book is about. It's like step up, do the harder thing, take on the challenge, and a whole new space of possibilities is going to open up in your career. I'm like, oh my God. and then the double entendre in that is, when you're older and you look back at your career, is it ever a straight line?
Never.
No, your career is always a drunkard's path, with very rare exceptions, for people. So it was kind of like, bam, that's the name. And of course, the final piece is it's kind of a shock title. If you're in the bookstore or on Amazon and you're cruising through and you see the standard names for career books, and this one pops out as like the Drunkard's Path, it's like, you're probably going to pick it up. Yeah. And that's kind of all I need you to do. Pick it up, read the back, and, hopefully it's a story that seduces them to want to buy it. But, that's kind of where the name came from. And it's been literally the Drunkard's Path has been in my house for so long. I've always thought it was funny. And now it's got meaning. Wow, that's it. That's an awesome story. And so going the book route, let's talk about that, because there's lots of different ways to tell your story. There's a lot of different things. Writing a book, publishing a book, it's not easy. Like, why did you decide a book? Well, I got handed a book one day by somebody who said, "Oh, I think you're going to like this. This speaks to, you and the kind of things you do." And it's the book called Who Moved My Cheese. Have you heard of it? I love that book. Right. It's a little book. Great it's basically title. A 3-page essay in a large book. And I'm like, that became a bestseller? Oh my God. Now I know why it became a bestseller. It's a great book. You know, the story's fun and funny, and it does teach that one theme, you know, which is basically take responsibility for yourself, you know, and own it. And I'm like, man, I could write a better book. So that started me thinking about writing a book. And of course I started on it, Cafe Way. And then I had another child and opened 2 more restaurants and started the hospitality company. And, you know, it kind of took a back seat. And then finally, you know, I every year I speak to kids at the University of Connecticut and Eastern Connecticut State University. And one of the best parts of that is the question and answer period at the end. You know, the back and forth. And it was from those conversations that I'm like, these are my audience. These are my people that I want to reach. These are the people I can write to and for. And that sort of helped me develop the outline that became the book. And once I had the outline, I literally wrote the thing in about 4 months.
Oh, wow. So it was just this inspiration after the outline. And then it was kind of like this brain dump. And then I'm guessing after that, like the editors and all the other people kind of took over that process or helped in that creative process.
That takes longer than the writing side. But I, you know, on a back note, I have been writing for over 20 years.
Yeah.
So I always write to help me to understand the concept better so that I can speak more effectively to it and understand it better, to embody it better. So writing about it, reading about it, sharing with other people and discussing it deepens my knowledge and my understanding. So I become more effective in what I do. So I've done that. And I'd say about 35% of the book was already written because I had all these pieces. And all I had to do was to plug those pieces into my outline and then fill in the rest.
What would you say to those that, and I ask this question all the time to authors because I'm a big fan of writing, of publishing work, of getting your message out there through book form. I just think there's nothing like a book. I love the feel of it. I love paper. I mean, whatever. Maybe I was born in the wrong generation, but I still like a good paperback book or a hardcover book. I do. So there's some people out there that watch this. They're, you know, they're entrepreneurs, they're business owners. They maybe have a message. They want to get a book out there. They want to get their work out there and their message out there, but maybe something's holding them back. Like, what would you say to them?
Just start writing. If there's something you care about or want to learn more about or know a lot about, but want to deepen your understanding, just start to write about it so you can educate other people around you with it. So I always wrote to educate my managers and in some cases my staff. Yeah. But mostly me. Like one of my editors asked, well, who did you write the book for? And I said, well, me.
Wasn't expecting that one.
You know, it's like, well, that's who I wrote it for. I mean, it wasn't, you know, I mean, in the long run, yes, it's hopefully it reaches other people. Yeah. But why I write is for me. To make me more effective in what I do. I mean, that's just really the fundamental piece of it. And then from there, it just became, you know, something else. And well, it started off as the Cafe Way and had a couple of name changes along the way. And through its editing process, because I had readers and pre-readers, you know, we changed things, you know, we changed some outline stuff. We changed titles. We changed structure. You know, there was a lot. I had some great pre-readers. Some were former employees. Some were professors at the university. Some were just friends I've known for years. And the feedback I got was tremendous from a number of these people that helped it become something that it wouldn't have been. And it's kind of how I approach cooking. Like when I set out to make, say, a soup, right? I'll make it and think, this is what I'm thinking, you know, and I'll look up a bunch of recipes and then I'll make it. And then I'll give it to somebody else. Say, hey, that's really good. But what if we do this? Yeah. Like, oh, good idea. And we'll do that. And then somebody else will add something, you know, and then I'll rewrite the recipe and I'll give it to somebody else to make. And then we'll see how they did with it. And then we might adjust it again. Yeah. So the soup that I start out with, the idea becomes so much better because I involve all these other people.
Oh man, it sounds like a great process. And bottom line is for people watching this, if you want to get a book out there, like get it out. The essential theme here, just start writing. So I couldn't have said it better myself, and I'm a fan of it. So just start writing. Don't sit back. Don't wait. Just get pen and paper, whatever on your laptop. Like just get it done. So I'm in for that. Moving back to the book. So the Drunkard's Path, like what are some of the things as you kind of were going through your creative process, what are some of the things that you wanted to make sure like made that final cut?
Well, there's three themes that underline the whole story that have kind of been sort of my mantra throughout my life. And they're important and that they had to be in there. one might be at the beginning and some might be in the middle, but the main thing is, the main people I work with are 18 to 25-year-olds. That's kind of the realm. And what I specify for them is who they work for. It's not me. It's themselves and the future value they're creating for themselves. Wow. If they work from that frame of mind, they're more apt to step up and do the harder things and take on the implied requests, and learn new things. They're more apt to do that because they're not working for me or they're not working for Joe or whoever. It's like the story that gets in their way of not being better is that, well, this is not the job I want to do. I'm not really going to apply myself. I'm only working, I work for the state. I don't have to do that. Whatever those self-defeating conversations are, it prevents them from doing their best. So if they can come at it from a place of, I work for myself and the future value I'm creating, they just become a better employee for me in the moment, but they also become, better for themselves in the future and to become what I refer to as self-mobilized. Right? They mobilize themselves into action with this story. So the other theme in the book is that all of this that we do, all these restaurants that I built, and literally everything we do happens in language. Like as human beings, we create, generate, co-create everything around us with the words that we use. So the more effective you are in communicating, right, the more effective you are in creating what it is that you want around you. So it's taking responsibility to use your words effectively, right, to create and generate the reality around you. That, to me, that's just absolutely crucial. And then the final piece in the book is kind of how I've sort of lived my life. I came across the term in a book by Richard Dawkins called The Selfish Gene. So it's a biology book, but it's selfish altruism, which for me means I'm doing this because I want to do this. Like I'm doing this because this makes me happy. This is what I want to do. But I'm also taking care of other people with my actions instead of the opposite of just selfish, or even just altruistic, which, is there such a thing as 100% altruism? But approaching it from a selfish altruist perspective just creates a much better, world around you. So those are sort of the three things that underline the whole book.
So looking at this, though, this isn't just a book about restaurants, and I know you keep mentioning this is for, maybe you wrote it for younger people, but this sounds like to me like it's these themes doesn't matter what level of career you're at or where you're at, and it also doesn't matter like what industry. Like these are principles really that people can take and implement in their life. Like like as you said, like working and understanding like you're working for the future value of yourself, like something like that. Like that's a big concept. Yeah,
and it's I've had readers from all age brackets, and they all tell me how great it is. The guy who was 75 said, "I wish I had this book when I was younger." The person who's reading it in conjunction with The Artist's Way is going, "Oh my God, they're great companion books." Who knew, right? Yes, it's not about the hospitality industry. It's not about restaurants. There's stories in it that come from that, but there's also stories from the ski business that I worked in, and the water park business I worked in. They're learning stories, almost like Zen stories to a certain degree. But it's the fundamentals of being a human. That's really what I try and get to. So, in the book, I talk about, language and really what it comes down to in business is promises and requests. Like my job is to become a really, really good requester, but my job is also to build really good promisers. Right. And that all happens in language, but it's fundamental. It's fundamental to every business that's out there. It's not just the hospitality business. It's everything. And not only that, it's not even about your life. It's about your relationships. It's about your spouse, your kids, your community. When you can learn to be a good requester and surround yourself with good promisers, stuff gets done. Things are taken care of effectively. So in a way, it's sort of let me tell you the structure, right? So the first section of the book is about employment. The next section of the book is management, where we take that and deepen it a bit more. The next section is engagement, where we take what we've learned and we apply it to our lives, not just from a work environment, but engaging everywhere. And the final section of the book is called commitment, where we kind of say, you know what, this is really, there is no work-life balance per se. This is life. What I'm doing over here at work is the same thing fundamentally I'm doing over here, on my day off. And it sort of tries to combine all that to say, who are you doing this for? And go ahead, go out there and have fun. I mean, one of the main things that I keep repeating out there is learn things, have fun.
Mm-hmm.
And it is.
Which isn't a normal, by the way, I feel like that's not the normal, to say, rhetoric we're given, or the normal knowledge we're given. Learn things, have fun. Like if you approach something like that, it's different, right?
People ask me, where do you get your staff from? They're always so good. Well, we basically, our people who do the hiring, we try and hire happy people. Because I can't teach you to be happy. But if you're happy, I can teach you anything. Like happy people scientifically just learn better, more effectively. They just do. So I'll hire an 18 or 19-year-old with almost no experience because they just come across as being just happy, doing their life and things look great. As opposed to someone who's like 22, who's, had a rough time, is kind of miserable. And it's like, So, yeah, fundamentally human. That's kind of what I'm after.
Come on, man. Hire happy. That's awesome. I'm taking that one with me, Barry. Hire happy, like everybody.
Well, it is, because like I said, look, when I opened my second business with a partner, I said, look, when you come to work and you see an employee that makes you go, ugh, and go the other way, that means you have to take action. Right? This is where you show up to work every day. You need to be happy. You can't be put off by one of your employees. So you've got to go and you've got to work with them. You got to say, hey, this needs to be fixed, right? Or you need to go.
I want to switch it up a bit, Barry. So I want to go a little bit more into your businesses and into your restaurants. And for everybody watching, don't worry, we'll include the links and everything in the show notes, because I do want you to pick up a copy of The Drunkard's Path. So lots more to unpack there. But I do want to get a little bit more into speaking of the businesses and your career in general. So what restaurant do you want to start with? Because I know you have multiple: Vanilla Bean Cafe, 85 Main, Fenton River Grill. I mean, all different concepts. I'm probably missing one. Dog Lane Cafe. I'm probably missing something here. You got a lot going on. I'm trying to keep up.
We'll start with where it started for me, which is the Vanilla Bean Cafe. We opened it. It's a rural country cafe. Connecticut magazine called it Connecticut's best country cafe. It's built into an old barn. It's a fast casual concept, and it was fast casual before the theme, the genre of fast casual even was there. When we first opened, we called it limited service. I basically borrowed what I learned in England and Ireland pubs for the service concept, and we include tax in the prices. So it just makes things a whole lot easier. Because there's, I don't know if you know this, but like the United States is one of those few places that adds tax at the end of the sale. Whereas in some countries, it's actually illegal to charge the customer more than what you've put on a tag that they see.
Oh, wow.
So people from other countries come here and see, a hat for $10, and they throw $10 at the cashier and go to walk out. And they're like, what do you mean? So here in this state, we're always, adding tax onto things. And as a kid, I always hated that. So, when you come and get something for us, if it says $10 on the menu, $10 is what it is. It's not $10.75.
Yeah.
So that was one of those things that we built into that. And it's, it's an old barn. So it's got, it's kind of bucolic. It's got a lot of people say it feels like being at home. Yeah. It's kind of cool. We have, regular seating, but we also have couches and wing chairs and stuff. We used to do live entertainment there. We're looking to do it again soon. We opened our other one about 16 or 17 years ago. That's an upscale casual restaurant. It's kind of like you'd find in a city somewhere, and it's in a small country town. So it's called 85 Main. It's full service, full bar, raw bar, sushi bar, wine cellar, indoor, outdoor seating, and it's just high quality stuff. Yeah, hand prepared, best oysters you're going to get around. I mean, it's just great. It's probably one of the top go-to restaurants for people in northeastern Connecticut for special events and just for hanging out. We built a bar for people to eat in. You know what I mean? It's, when people think of bars, it's like, you go in there to drink. Our bar is totally designed to eat in. On one side is the raw bar, and on the other side is the sushi bar, and in the middle is, the regular bar.
You're making me hungry over here, Barry. It's before lunchtime in California.
It's a great, fun place to hang out. And then the next one we opened was down by the University of Connecticut. When we opened the cafe, the University of Connecticut people were like, man, you got to do something like this down near us. Because, down there it was like, not a lot going on. Most of it was for students. So we opened up the same style, the fast casual concept down there into a new downtown that we're building. And it's one of those rare restaurants that you just hit out of the gate and everything works. And it works great. You know, our main customer base there are the adults. You know, that's our market. But we get a lot of students too. So bottomless cup of coffee always helps, you know. And that's good. And the final place we opened up about 4 years ago, it's kind of like a village pub kind of thing, 20 beers on tap. It's shareable menu items. It's down between University of Connecticut and Eastern Connecticut State University. And this past year, in January, actually, it just got 4 awards from Connecticut Magazine: Best Beer Selection, Best Appetizers, Best New American, and Best in Overall Excellence in that particular county in Connecticut. So those are the 4 concepts. They're all different, and they're all different because we're in a rural area. You know, you want to make it so that it's all different. And I think it's just more fun to we give our partners some leeway. They get to go out and explore and do things on their own instead of trying to stick to a formula. Like, this is how you have to make it, which is like,
You talk often about, of course, the staff, the people behind the restaurant, and really that community behind the restaurant that makes it happen. Like, how important has that been in kind of building these concepts and really just making them successful?
So my first customer are my employees. So my employees are my first customers. They're the first people I have to satisfy. And I have to build something that attracts the right people, right? I have to tell a compelling story. I have to create a seductive environment that brings them in, brings the right people in, right? And my job is to create that and maintain that so that they start to bring other people in. Like at the Vanilla Bean, we haven't advertised for help in over 28 years.
Wow.
It's all self-perpetuating through the staff and through the customers.
28 years? That's amazing.
Yeah, because they're we created the place that people want to be.
Yeah.
Where the people want to work. Because some people will be there that come as a customer and they're like, man, I'm going to apply here. It looks like fun. Well, that's right. My job is to create a place that seduces them into that. And then the culture, the reputation goes out in the marketplace. And we get the right people. Because also the story is out there, you're going to work a little harder. What we tell people who come to work for us, we go, this is a cleaning job. Well, we get to do food and interact with customers, but 50% of what you're going to do here is clean.
Right.
And they're like, oh, and sure enough, but they do, they come in and they just come in and they shine. And my job is to just really, the way I put it is I work for them. It's, it's servant leadership is really, I speak it in a different way in the book, but that's basically what it is. So when I'm attracting the right people and they're working well for the customer and they're working well for each other, because in our story, they also work for their coworker. Oh, right. Because if they're not working for their coworker, if they show up as someone who's just in it for themselves and are not taking care of each other, they get marginalized. We'll talk to them and say, hey, nobody wants to work with you. Right? You always do the easy job, or you always want to leave early, or you're complaining. It's like nobody wants you on their team. What are you going to do about it?
Yeah.
So we build these teams and they help build themselves. And then, hopefully we've created the right offer in the marketplace so that the people who actually make this all possible for us come in and spend their money with us. And well, I've been here for 32 years, so it's working.
Barry, this is an amazing story. I love bringing stories like this to my audience. I mean, it's just showing decades of success in the business. And obviously it's based off of from your words, it's based off of a couple things, but one of the main things is treating your customer, right? Which is your first customer, your employees, and then attracting the right people to the concepts and creating the right environments. And it's just a great story. It's a great way to do business. I think a lot of the lessons and the themes that you've told that are both in the book and then just in general on how you built your businesses or your business, it applies to different industries. If we can do that in any industry, right? Treat our employees as their number one, and then attract the right type of clients for our employees to work with, and then try and create the right environments. Like, this is just a winning recipe for success in anywhere, right?
Absolutely. And there's plenty of businesses out there that do that. They make the news, they make the papers, they're in magazines, they write about them. Inc. magazine writes, Fortune, Fast Company, they all write about those companies that are doing that. But there's still so many that don't. And the problem with the restaurant industry is I like to call it an industry of amateurs, because a lot of people who open restaurants don't have the necessary knowledge to actually run a restaurant. Mm-hmm. They go, wouldn't it be fun to open a restaurant? It's like, they go, I know food, I know people. Well, that's about 20% of it. What about the rest? And so a lot of people get into business and they don't really know what they're doing or how to work it, to make it something where they want to be every day and make it successful for everybody.
Awesome. Well, Barry, I just have to say, this has been great having you on the show. I've learned a lot. I'm sure my audience has as well. I just have to ask, so what's next? I mean, what's next for you? What's next for the restaurants, the Drunkard's Path? What's next?
Well, restaurant wise, we're kind of where we're at. We're hitting the number we need to hit. And both my wife and my bookkeeper said, if you open another restaurant, we're leaving. So, but we're there. Everything works. Everything flows the way it's supposed to. I've got a really great operations manager who's been with me. And the story in the restaurant business. Oh my God, you're working long hours. It's crazy. Why would you want to do that? Most people are surprised when I tell them I work less than 40 hours a week. And I'm home every night for dinner. Now, that didn't happen out of the gate, right? I had to tell that story. I had to invent that story, and then I had to build it to become that. So if I just believed the story that was out there about the restaurant industry and didn't make one of my own, then I would perpetrate that and become that, and it would run my life. Instead, I created a new story and then worked to create it so that I get to do that. I mean, people often ask me, well, what's your job title? Because it says CEO of Green Valley Hospitality or whatever. I'm the chief storyteller. Yeah. That's my job. I mean, everything that we have, everything is a story that starts with me and then is perpetrated with all these other players that help keep it going. And that's kind of true with everybody, but the more you actually believe it and come from it, the more effective you can be to do it, to fulfill on it. So we're going to keep telling the story, still staying with the high quality service and food that we do. Trying to maintain things and get out the other side, and still create more people for the future workforce to make a difference.
Chief storyteller. Come on, Barry, I'm in. So if somebody's watching this and they want to follow the journey, they want to follow the restaurants, they want to, of course, pick up a copy of The Drunkard's Path. I mean, what's the best way for them to do that?
Well, there's a number of ways these days, right? You can find stuff anywhere. We are at thedrunkardspath.com. where there's also a blog I've started to deepen the book and to take it on different angles. Mm-hmm. And there's a link there to buy directly from me, where I actually, it's better financially for me when you buy them that way. Whereas if you go to Amazon, it's easy to get, but it doesn't always take care of the author. Yeah. So, but you can buy them on Amazon. You can buy them literally anywhere books are sold online. You can buy it. You can buy it at Target. You can buy it at Walmart. Anywhere online, these books are available. It's in both softcover and hardcover. And I've got an Audible version that's in the final stages of about to go up. It should be out there in like 2 to 3 weeks, hopefully. But pretty much anywhere. So thedrunkardspath.com. And then for the restaurants, the good starting point is greenvalleyhospitality.com. From there, you can get to all 4 restaurants, and there's a link to the Drunkard's Path from there as well. So that's a place to go to find out more about what we're doing and keep us going.
That's fantastic. And for everybody watching, we'll put all this stuff in the show notes, all the links and everything else, so that you can just click on the link and head right on over to the Drunkard's Path, and also to learn more about the hospitality group. So awesome there. And if this is your first time with us at Mission Matters, we're a platform that is all about bringing on entrepreneurs and executives and experts, and really just having them share like why they do what they do, like what gets them motivated, how are they offering value and really spreading great things in the marketplace. If that's the type of content that you're into, we definitely invite you to hit that subscribe button, because we have many more mission-based individuals coming up for you, and we don't want you to miss a thing. And Barry, it really has truly been a pleasure getting to know more about you, your background, Drunkard's Path, your ideas on business. Really, thank you again for coming on the show.
Thank you. Thanks. It's been great. A lot of fun.